It was pretty impossible to trace a passing stranger in Victorian England.
At the remand proceedings, 4 men were held. Why do you think they only charged 3?
The boat boy was only 15, and I suppose they needed his evidence to convict the other 3. Remember, in those days, a prisoner couldn't testify in his own defense, nor could he be cross-examined.
So the boy's testimony was crucial.
Don't tell me you're beginning to think they didn't do it. If they didn't, then who could have? No one else was ever suspected. Morse is working on instinct. He is wasting your time. You do know that, don't you?
Thomas Wooden of Rugby, 15 years of age.
Yes, sir.
You know you must be honest.
Yes, sir. Or I'll be in trouble.
Now, tell the court what you remember of the behavior of the boatmen on that journey on the Barbara Bray. There was lewdness, wasn't there not?
Well, sir, I used to go in the cabin with Mr. Oldfield. I could hear them.
What could you hear?
You know, sir, it was a man and woman.
Did she protest at all?
Don't know, sir.
Very well. Tell us what happened on June the 22nd in the early hours at Filbert Lock. Where were Musson and Towns?
Asleep in the crew cabin, I think, sir.
You think, sir, but you don't know, sir?
I heard Towns snoring. Musson was interested in that trunk.
In the ladies' trunk?
The ladies' trunk. He thought there were money in it. At least 50 sovereign, he said.
Did you ever see any of this money?
She was a poor lady. I never thought there were any.
Where was Mr. Oldfield?
Stern, sir. He did go to the passenger cabin.
With Mrs. Franks?
Yes, sir.
Thomas, is this Filbert Lock?
Hi, Mum.
I'll have to get off. Call a nature. Don't worry, I'll catch up.
She got off. Was she wearing her shoes?
Yes, sir.
Did she get on again?
Must have, sir. I didn't see. Captain ordered me to go below and sleep.
And did you ever see Mrs. Franks again?
No, sir. Never again.
Do you know how her shoes returned to the boat?
Must have come back, sir.
Well, did Captain Oldfield return to her cabin?
Don't know any of that, sir. Went fast asleep.
He's lying. Whatever happened next, whatever was done next, was known only to those 3 prisoners in the dock.
Yes, sir.
And you can't tell us what happened to Mrs. Franks.
No, sir.
Did anyone say what had happened to her?
Captain Oldfield said she got off. Mustn't reckon she jumped in.
In the canal, you mean? What do you think happened?
Well, the court is not concerned with what the witness thinks, Sergeant Williams.
She drowned, sir. Didn't she?
She did indeed. Thank you, Thomas.
Thomas, you wouldn't lie to go free, would you?
I should try not, sir.
What kind of a woman was Mrs. Franks? A pretty woman, wouldn't you say so?
Yes, sir. Sometimes she was happy, sometimes she was sad. Sometimes she was kind. Sometimes she seemed crazy.
Not in a normal state of mind, you mean?
Dunno.
You said you went to sleep and never saw her again. But in earlier testimony, you said she went ashore and you saw the others go looking for her. Now you say you know nothing of what happened because you were asleep.
Oh, I see. Must have been wrong before.
You must have been wrong afore. Well, how do we know you're right now?
I am right now.
You're lying, aren't you?
No, sir. What about?
Did you go into the passenger cabin?
No, sir, I didn't.
Did you look for money in that trunk?
No, sir, I never thought there were any.
You wouldn't tell lies to save your skin.
No, I wouldn't, sir.
Wouldn't you? Thank you.
Kershaw, what are you doing here?
Yes, sorry about the lateness of the hour, sir.
No, I'm glad to see you.
It's just that I've been to the Bodleian and I found out...
The evidence of the boy, Thomas, I'm sure there's something there.
Sister! Sister!
He told the court what he was instructed to tell them, I'm sure of it. But by whom?
Nurse, call the crash team now.
Right. Hello, crash team, third floor, Nelson Ward. Emergency cardiac arrest.
I think I'd better...
Charging. 200.
I'll see you tomorrow, sir.
Charging. And clear. And again, 200. And clear. Up to 360.
It makes one...
Yes. Yes, it does. After all this...
Well, thanks, Fiona. Hope I haven't been a trouble.
You have, but never mind. Remember to take the tablets.
I will. Thank you.
Come along, boss.
Bye. Good luck. Thank you to Sister McLean.
You have your medication, so you take it regularly, or you'll be back here in days. Same goes for the diet sheet. Rest essential. Don't try returning to work. And back in a week. See Mr. Benfield.
Yes, sister.
Oh, and you nearly forgot this.
Ah. Keep it, sister, to remember me.
Oh, no, far too tempting. And this. Now we know what you like to read. Look after him, Mrs. Morse.
Wasn't there just a small confusion there, what?
The wife, you mean? Mm-hmm. Not of my making.
You didn't tell them that I'd be able to look after you, did you?
No, I can manage. I don't expect you to.
No, it's only I have to get back to my mother in Carlisle for a few more days.
No, I understand.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Ah, you must be Miss Cecil. Can I help?
And you must be Mr. Kershaw. Could you push him for me?
Of course. You must be glad to be getting out of here, sir.
Must I? I think it frets the saints in heaven to see how many desolate creatures on the earth have learned the simple dues of fellowship and social comfort in a hospital. Who said that?
No idea, Morse. But have you learned the simple dues of fellowship?
I hope so. Do you know Kershaw?
Elizabeth Barrett Browning.
You take it as a warning, Morse. None of us are immortal. Remember, the graveyard's full of indispensable men.
Nice of you to be so concerned, sir. What's this?
It's details of the pension you'd be entitled to. You'd be pretty well off. And you have a good life insurance, don't you?
I don't intend to retire yet.
Well, the police surgeon may decide otherwise.
Physical fitness never had much to do with being a good detective. You will at least admit I'm a good detective.
Yes, you are, but you can't go on forever. None of us can. Think of all the things you never had time to do.
Like what?
Crosswords, reading, all this.
All this what?
This music you're always playing, what is it?
Well, it varies, but this is Mozart's clarinet concerto.
Well, there you are, you see. What do you make of him?
Kershaw?
Too clever by half.
He's been very good getting me settled. I'd like to keep him for a few days while I can't do legwork.
All right, just a few more days. But you're going to ruin the lad, involving him in all this ancient nonsense.
You are Mr. Charles Franks, ostler of Edgware Road, London.
I am, sir.
The court appreciates your unhappy state, Mr. Franks. But in the interests of justice, recount as best you can the fate of the woman you married.
Yes, sir. My wife, Joanna, remained behind in Coventry when I went for work in London. After a few months, I saved a sovereign and sent it to her to join me. She wrote me to say she was coming by canal. 10 days passed and she hadn't arrived. I set out to look for her. When I reached Oxford, read in the newspaper of a local inquest.
We will await you, Mr. Franks. Take your time.
I went to the mortuary, only to have my very worst fears confirmed. The woman who lay there, cold and disfigured, was my wife, Joanna.
You are sure, Mr. Franks? The court must be clear on this point. You did say disfigured.
Oh, I was sure. It was Joanna. There was a birthmark on her, just behind her right ear.
A mark only a husband would know, my lord. Then you were shown shoes. The shoes found in the forecabin of the Barbara Bray.
Yes, sir. I knew them at once. They were hers. Her favourite shoes.
What's in it?
Eggs, sir. I think that's why it's called an omelette.
Omelette just means a thin plate, Kershaw. It's the same word as amulet.
Yes, sir.
All these courses you take, has anyone ever told you the first principle of detection?
No, sir. Only how to do the divisional planning report.
The basis of detection, Kershaw, is to keep asking why. Why did she go by boat?
I don't know. In 1859, 10 trains a day ran from Oxford to London from competing railway companies. There were so many, they'd nearly driven the canals out of business.
A free market, then, so fares were cheap.
16 shillings single from Oxford to London.
For a poor woman, that was a fortune.
If you rode first class with the gentry.
Yes, Kershaw. And what about third?
6 shillings. From Coventry, it would have been about 2 shillings more.
And how much was the flyboat?
4 shillings.
So for 4 shillings, she could have saved her life. And been in London in a day. Doesn't make much sense, does it?
I suppose not.
And why did she drink with the bargeman and boatman? And why get off at Filbert Lock?
Probably to go to the loo, sir.
But the trial didn't establish when she got back on again, did it? And then why were the trunk ropes cut? And why were her shoes left in the cabin? This is very good, Kershaw.
Thank you, sir.
You could have put more cayenne in there. And why was her face black and disfigured?
I wondered about that. The indictment said she'd been choked and drowned.
Well, they didn't have forensic pathologists then, did they? So what was the medical evidence?
There was the report from the local doctor who examined her, Dr. Willis, and later the mortuary doctor.
Where are they? Check the medical archives.
Accredited research student?
Accredited policeman.
So what do you want?
I'm told you keep evidence here from Victorian trials in Oxford. Wasn't it moved here from St Aldate's?
Yes. Now it's a research archive.
What about medical records?
Those are in the medical records library.
And evidence from trials in 1860?
Over there, where it says a size 1860. I have to go back upstairs. If you need me, just call.
Constable Harrison, you told my legal friend you went to Iffley Lock to seize the Barbara Bray. What exactly did you find there?
Lady's trunk, sir. In the passenger forecabin. Its ropes were cut.
Well, that might suggest theft, yet you charged the men with murder.
They were the lady's shoes, sir. A lady would hardly leave the boat without putting her shoes on.
If she decided to leave the boat suddenly? or decided to drown herself.
Mr. Lyons, surely the medical evidence has clearly shown that her death could not be suicide.
But I submit it does not amount to a proof that these men committed her murder, my lord. Sirs, the men in the dock are illiterate men, irreligious men, lewd men who drank to excess and drank cargoes they were meant to guard. But they have not confessed to murder, nor is it proven. No witness was found, no firm evidence given to fix their part in this crime. You heard the testimony of the young man Wootton. You heard he saw nothing of the poor woman's final moments. Now, counsel says you must consider the shoes in the fore cabin. But if these men were guilty, would they not dispose of them? No, Mrs. Franks died that morning. But we know no more than that she went ashore, where others may well have committed the crime.
What are those?
Victorian panties. Mind if I borrow them?
They're not your size.
For Chief Inspector Morse. You heard of him?
I sure have. But I didn't know he liked knickers.
Well, he does now. And all the rest of this.
You'll have to sign for it all.
Well, it looks like the trunk in the case. Except the initials are wrong. Hers were JF.
Maybe she was married before.
That's it. Joanna Donovan was Joanna Franks. Married to F.T. Donovan, the great magician. That's why it says FTD. You're a marvel, Miss Ho.
Do you think so?
Your Lordship, we ask permission to retire and consider our verdict.
Indeed, but I must instruct you on some last points to consider. It is true that the accused have not made a confession. It is also true that we have no witness to this evil murder, although the evidence of the boy Wootton is proof enough that there was much drunken lewdness. You may ask yourselves why these men, if guilty, did not dispose of the murdered woman's shoes, those she left in the fore cabin. However, you may conclude that they were so befuddled with drink as to ignore such a natural instinct of self-preservation. You may also consider that if these men are not guilty of this heinous crime, well, who else on or near the flyboat Barbara Bray may have had both motive and means of carrying it out? Gentlemen, you may arise.
Guilty.
Very well. Rory Oldfield, Alfred Musson, Walter Towns, you have heard the verdict. Have you anything to say?
My lord, I declare we are all innocent of that crime.
Mr. Towns, I think that last night you asked to speak to the prison chaplain.
I confessed to him that unchristian things happened on that boat that never should have. Improper things.
Resulting in murder?
No, sir, not that. Not to my knowledge.
Yes, prisoners at the bar, you have heard the verdict. My duty is to pass sentence.
Oh, hi, it's you. No, it's fine. They let you out of Gulag. I'm delighted. I gather you're putting a team on the case. I met your Mr. Kershaw.
Interesting lad, isn't he? I was wondering if I could offer you a meal. No, not in a restaurant. No, I have to stick to a very strict diet. But if you'd care to come to my place...
Of course, I'll bring a bottle. Oh, sorry, I forgot. No, it's quite okay. I'll suffer beside you. About 7:30. Right.
Yes, I've finished your book. At any rate, the section on the canal matter.
Well, good. I hope I convinced you.
I think the trial was a travesty. And 3 men were sentenced to death by public hanging for a crime they almost certainly didn't commit. Do you mind if we...